A billionaire's world changes forever when a waitress's simple hug for his disabled son sparks a chain of kindness that transforms all their lives. Richard was a man who lived in a world where money seemed to flow endlessly. As one of the richest men in the country, his life was full of luxury, big houses, fancy cars, and private jets. But for all the wealth he had, Richard often felt something missing. The world he lived in was fast and cold, filled with important meetings, phone calls, and endless responsibilities. Deep inside, he longed for simple moments that made life feel real and warm. One sunny afternoon, Richard decided to take his son, Alex, out of the mansion for a change. Alex was not like other children. He was born with a physical disability that made moving and talking difficult. Richard adored his son and always tried to protect him from the harsh realities of life. But today, Richard wanted to see the world from Alex's eyes, to take a step away from his golden bubble and understand what life felt like outside their wealthy world. They drove to a small neighborhood, one Richard had rarely visited. The streets were narrow, lined with small shops and colorful houses. People were walking with smiles, chatting loudly, and children played freely. Richard noticed the difference immediately. The energy was raw, the smiles genuine, the world not polished, but alive. He parked the car and entered a small cafe. It looked nothing like the fancy restaurants he was used to. The cafe was simple, with wooden tables, a few paintings on the walls, and a smell of fresh coffee mixed with baked bread. The place was busy, with people chatting and workers moving quickly. Richard chose a table near the window so Alex could watch the world outside. As they settled, a young woman approached their table. Her name was Emma, a waitress at the cafe. She was in her early 20s, with bright eyes and a warm smile that lit up her face. Despite her simple uniform and worn-out shoes, she carried herself with a kindness that seemed to come from her heart. Alex struggled to hold his small tray with his drink and sandwich. His hands trembled slightly, and the tray tilted.
All day.
Emma noticed immediately. Without hesitation, she stepped closer and gently hugged Alex, steadying the tray with her arms. The hug was soft but strong, a gesture full of warmth and comfort. Alex looked up at her, his face lighting up with happiness. For a moment, the disability that made him different seemed to disappear. Richard watched the scene quietly, feeling a strange emotion welling up inside. He had never seen anyone treat his son with such care before. People in his world often looked away or treated Alex with pity. But Emma's hug was different. It was full of respect and genuine affection. Emma smiled and asked Alex softly if he wanted help carrying his tray. Alex nodded shyly. Emma carefully took the tray from him and helped him to the table.
How?
She made sure he was comfortable and even pulled the chair a little closer for him. Richard noticed how naturally she treated Alex, like he was just another person, not someone to be feared or judged. While Emma moved to attend other customers, Richard looked around the cafe, watching how she interacted with everyone. She greeted each person with a warm hello, remembered their orders without writing them down, and laughed freely. It was clear she worked hard, but did so with joy. The cafe was a small world of its own, filled with people from all walks of life, workers, families, and elderly couples. They all seemed to know Emma and appreciate her kindness. Richard realized how different this world was from his own. Here, people connected not through money or power, but through simple acts of care and respect. Richard began to think about his own life. Despite all his riches, how often had he shown this kind of warmth to his son? How many times had he been too busy to notice Alex's struggles? The moment Emma hugged Alex made Richard reflect deeply. He felt a mix of pride for his son and sadness for the times he hadn't been there as the afternoon passed. Richard continued to watch Emma when she came back with their order. She knelt down beside Alex, talking to him gently while placing his food within easy reach. Alex giggled, clearly enjoying her attention. Richard felt a warmth spreading inside his chest, feeling he hadn't experienced in a long time. At one point, a small boy in the cafe tripped and fell near their table. Emma rushed over immediately, helping him up and comforting him like he was her own brother. Richard admired how naturally she cared for others, how her kindness was not just a job but a way of life. When it was time to leave, Richard stood up and thanked Emma. He noticed how tired she looked, but her eyes sparkled with a bright energy. Alex reached out to hold Emma's hand, a sign of trust and happiness. That evening, as Richard drove home with Alex, his mind kept returning to the moment in the cafe. The simple hug that Emma had given his son was more than just a gesture, it was a bridge between two worlds. Richard realized that despite his wealth, he had much to learn about kindness, humility, and the true meaning of family. This encounter was the beginning of a journey that would change not only Emma's life, but Richard's and Alex's lives too. It was a reminder that sometimes the most powerful moments come from the smallest acts of love. Emma's life was very different from the luxurious world Richard and his son Alex lived in. She woke up every day early in the morning before the sun rose, ready to face the hard work that awaited her. The small apartment she called home was cramped and worn down, but it was filled with the sounds of laughter and love from her younger siblings. Emma was not just a waitress. She was a caretaker, a sister, and a source of strength for her family. Her parents had passed away several years ago, leaving Emma to take care of her two younger brothers and a little sister. The responsibility was heavy, but Emma never complained. She worked long hours at the cafe to pay the rent and buy food. Sometimes she worked extra shifts cleaning houses or delivering packages just to make sure her siblings had what they needed. Even though life was tough, Emma had dreams that kept her going. She dreamed of going back to school someday, maybe studying business or hospitality, so she could open her own cafe one day, where people from her neighborhood could feel safe and welcome. She imagined a place filled with warmth, where children like Alex could come and be treated with love, not pity. Emma's days were packed with hard work and worry. She would wake her siblings up, prepare them for school, and then rush to the cafe, sometimes running because the bus was late or the walk was long. At the cafe, she served customers with a smile, even when her feet ached and her hands were tired. She had learned early on that kindness was a strength, not a weakness. Her coworkers liked Emma because she was always willing to help. She listened when others needed to talk, shared her lunch when someone forgot theirs, and celebrated small victories with everyone. Despite the hardships, Emma kept her spirit bright. She believed that one day things would get better. Her relationship with her siblings was her greatest source of joy and motivation. She helped her little sister with homework, sang songs to her brothers when they felt sad, and told stories at bedtime to make the apartment feel like a home. The love they shared was deep. Even though money was always tight, Emma often stayed up late to study from old books she borrowed from the library, determined to create a better life. One afternoon, after a long day at the cafe, Emma sat down with her siblings around a small table. The room was quiet except for the soft chatter of children sharing their day. Emma looked at their faces, the tired eyes, the hopeful smiles, and made a silent promise to herself. She would work hard not just for today, but for the future. She wanted to give her siblings opportunities she never had. Emma's kindness extended beyond her family. In the neighborhood, she was known for her helpful nature. She volunteered to care for elderly neighbors, helped to organize community events, and always lent a listening ear. People admired her resilience and warmth. Even the children who came to the cafe loved her because she made them feel special. Despite all her efforts, Emma faced many challenges. Sometimes money was so tight that she couldn't pay the rent on time. Other times, the stress made her feel overwhelmed. She worried about her siblings' education and health. But Emma refused to let those worries defeat her. She believed that every struggle was a step closer to her dreams. When Emma first met Richard and Alex, she didn't know her life would change so much. She was just doing her job, helping a small boy with a disability feel included and loved. But that moment, the hug she gave Alex, was a rare act of courage and kindness in a world that often looked away. After Richard's visit, Emma found herself thinking about her dreams more clearly. The brief interaction with Alex made her realize how much impact one person could have. She wished she could offer more to her family, to her community, and maybe, someday, Two children like Alex. Emma was unsure about what the future held. Would she ever get a chance to study? Could she really open her own cafe? The uncertainty was frightening. But deep inside she felt a growing hope that maybe, just maybe, life was about to turn. Richard, on the other hand, began to see Emma as more than just a waitress. He saw her struggles, her kindness, and her dreams. He felt a strong desire to help, not out of charity, but because he genuinely believed in her. For Richard, Emma represented everything his wealthy world lacked: genuine care, strength, and hope. Their worlds, so different at first glance, were about to come closer. Emma's story was not just about hardship. It was about courage, love, and the power of dreams. Her life was a daily battle, but one she fought with a smile and an open heart. As Emma continued her work at the cafe, she carried with her the memory of that afternoon with Alex and Richard. It reminded her that kindness could open doors, that even the smallest act could change lives. And somewhere deep inside, she held on tightly to the belief that her own life was worth transforming. After that first day at the cafe, Richard found himself returning more often. At first, it was just curiosity. He wanted to see Emma again, to watch how she interacted with his son Alex and the others. But as days passed, his visits became something more meaningful. Small escape from his fast-paced life filled with board meetings and endless phone calls. Emma noticed Richard's frequent presence right away. It was unusual for someone from a wealthy background to spend time in a modest cafe, especially one tucked away in a quiet neighborhood. At first, she was cautious. Emma had learned to protect herself and her family from people who only wanted to give pity or empty promises. She knew how often kindness was fake and how quickly it could disappear. But Richard was different. He never treated her like an object of charity. Instead, he spoke with genuine interest and respect. When he approached the counter, he asked questions about the cafe, about Emma's work, and about the neighborhood. Emma found herself opening up slowly, sharing small stories about her life, her siblings, and her dreams. Richard listened carefully, genuinely wanting to understand. He shared some stories about his own life too, but never in a boastful way. He talked about his son Alex, about the difficulties of raising a child with a disability, and how that changed his view of the world. These conversations began to build a bridge between two very different people. A connection based not on money or status, but on shared feelings and hopes. One afternoon, Richard arrived to find Emma helping a customer who had dropped their groceries. She was patiently gathering the spilled items, apologizing quietly, though it wasn't her fault. Richard stepped in and helped, making Emma smile. He realized that beneath her quiet strength was a spirit that faced many daily challenges with grace. Over time, Richard started to learn more about Emma's world. She talked about the struggles of raising her siblings alone after their parents passed away. She described her dream of opening her own cafe, a place that would be different from the one she worked in, warmer, friendlier, more welcoming. Richard admired her determination and courage. Emma, too, was beginning to see Richard in a new light. He wasn't just a rich man who came to eat food and leave. He was someone who cared, who listened, who wanted to make a difference. Though she still felt cautious, she started to trust him little by little. It was strange to feel comfortable around someone so different from her usual world. But there was something honest about Richard's presence. One day, Richard invited Emma to sit with him and Alex at a table. He wanted her to meet his son better and see how much her kindness meant. Emma hesitated but accepted the invitation. Sitting there, watching Alex smile and laugh with her, she felt a warmth she hadn't expected. It was a moment of pure connection, a bridge between two lives that rarely crossed. As days turned into weeks, Richard's visits became more regular. He even started inviting Emma to other places: quiet parks, small community events, and once a charity fundraiser he organized for families with disabled children. Emma felt nervous but excited. She was stepping into a world she had only dreamed about. Through these moments, their bond grew stronger. Richard shared more about his responsibilities and pressures, revealing the loneliness hidden behind his fortune. Emma shared more about her hopes and fears, her worries for her siblings and her dreams for a better life. They found comfort in each other's stories. A rare friendship built on honesty and respect. Richard also began to see how much Emma's kindness affected his son. Alex looked forward to her visits, his eyes lighting up when she arrived. Emma's gentle care helped Alex feel more confident and happy. Watching this, Richard realized that Emma was not just a waitress or a helper. She was someone who truly understood his son's needs. One afternoon, Richard asked Emma about her future plans. He wanted to know what she dreamed of achieving and how he might help. Emma was surprised by the question. She had never been asked that before, not seriously, not by someone who could actually help. She spoke carefully, explaining her wish to go back to school or to start a small business. She talked about how difficult it was to find the money or the time, and how she worried every day about her siblings' well-being. Richard listened closely, feeling a deep desire to support her in any way he could. Emma's honesty touched Richard. Deeply, he began to think about ways to give her a real opportunity, not just charity, but a chance to build a new life. He didn't want to just hand her money. He wanted to mentor her, guide her, and help her grow. As their relationship grew, Emma's confidence also began to blossom. She realized that Richard's support was genuine, not just a passing kindness. For the first time in a long time, she felt hopeful about the future. The fear of failure was still there, but so was a new strength, fueled by belief and friendship. Their connection was not without challenges. Emma sometimes doubted herself and worried about what others would think. Richard struggled with the idea of stepping into a world so different from his own, wondering if he could really make a difference. But together, they faced these doubts, learning from each other and growing stronger. In this unexpected friendship, both found something they had been missing. Richard found meaning beyond his wealth and power. Emma found a supporter who believed in her dreams, and Alex found a friend who saw him for who he was, not just his disability. The cafe, once just a place of work for Emma, became a meeting point for new hopes and possibilities. It was where two very different lives began to change, slowly but surely. Through simple acts of trust and care, Richard's repeated visits also brought attention to the cafe and the neighborhood. Some people from his world started to see the value in places like these, places filled with real people, real struggles, and real kindness. Emma's story became an example of how compassion could bridge gaps between social classes and change lives at the same time. Emma continued to work hard, balancing her responsibilities with the new opportunities opening up. She studied in her free time, sometimes staying up late after long shifts, determined not to waste the chance she was being given. Richard encouraged her every step of the way, providing resources and advice. Their journey was just beginning, but already it showed the power of human connection. From a simple hug in a cafe, friendship had blossomed, a friendship that would soon lead to life-changing opportunities and new dreams fulfilled. Richard had been watching Emma closely for weeks. He saw her strength, her kindness, and her unyielding determination to take care of her family and pursue her dreams. It became clear to him that Emma was someone special, someone who deserved a chance to change her life completely. So one day, after another visit to the cafe, he decided to do something that would surprise Emma and transform her future forever. He invited Emma to a quiet corner of the cafe after her shift ended. Emma was tired, but curious. Richard had never asked her to meet like this before, and she wondered what it could mean. He spoke gently and sincerely, explaining that he wanted to offer her a unique opportunity. He wasn't just impressed by her kindness toward his son Alex. He was inspired by her whole attitude toward life. Richard told Emma that he wanted to help her go back to school if she wanted to. He wanted to give her a scholarship to study business or hospitality, whichever she preferred. He wanted to provide financial support so Emma could start her own Cafe 1, Dea, place where her dreams could become reality and where she could create a welcoming space for people, just like the ones in her neighborhood. Emma listened, quietly, hardly believing what she was hearing. This offer was beyond anything she had ever imagined. She felt a flood of emotions, excitement, fear, hope, and disbelief all at once. Could this be real? Did she really deserve such an opportunity? The thought of changing her life so completely was overwhelming. For a moment, Emma hesitated. She worried about what her siblings would say, about whether she could manage the responsibilities, about whether she was strong enough to accept this gift. She had always been independent, working hard to survive without asking for help. Here was Richard offering not just help, but a real chance to build a future. After a long pause, Emma finally nodded. She accepted the offer, feeling a mix of gratitude and nervousness. Richard smiled warmly, promising that he would be there to support her every step of the way. This was not just charity, it was a partnership, a new beginning. From that day forward, Emma's life began to change in ways she had never thought possible. She enrolled in night classes at a local college, studying business management. The classes were challenging, especially after long days at work, but Emma was determined to succeed. She poured herself into learning, hungry for knowledge and eager to prove that she could do more. Richard arranged for tutors and mentors to help Emma with her studies whenever she needed it. He also introduced her to people in his business network who could teach her about running a cafe, managing finances, and creating a welcoming atmosphere for customers. Emma soaked up the lessons like a sponge, eager to turn her dream into reality. Meanwhile, Richard helped Emma develop a business plan for her own cafe. They worked together to find the right location, one that was accessible to her neighborhood, but also had potential for growth. Richard wanted Emma to have full control over the project, encouraging her to bring her own ideas and vision to life. Emma faced many challenges along the way. There were moments of doubt when balancing school. Work and family seemed impossible. Sometimes she felt exhausted, questioning if she could continue. But each time, she thought about her siblings, about Alex, and about the kindness Richard had shown her. Those thoughts gave her strength. Her siblings noticed the changes too. They saw Emma studying late at night, working tirelessly to improve their lives. They felt proud and inspired by her courage. The small apartment felt brighter, filled with hope and new possibilities. Richard also became more involved in Emma's journey. He visited her at the college, attending some of her presentations and encouraging her. He saw how much effort she put into every task and how much she grew every day. Their friendship deepened, built on mutual respect and shared dreams. As Emma prepared to open her cafe, Richard helped her find staff from the community, people who needed jobs and a chance to build their own futures. Emma wanted her cafe to be more than just a business. It was going to be a place where kindness and respect were at the heart of everything. Just like the cafe where she worked when she met Richard, the day Emma's cafe opened was a celebration. Friends, family, neighbors, and even some of Richard's colleagues came to support her. The atmosphere was full of joy and pride. Emma stood behind the counter, smiling as she served customers. It was more than a cafe. It was a symbol of hope, hard work, and transformation. Alex was there too, excited to see Emma's success. He felt proud to have played a small part in this journey. The boy whose simple need for kindness had started everything. Richard watched with a full heart, knowing that this was just the beginning for all of them. Emma's cafe became a place where everyone felt welcome, especially children with disabilities like Alex. She made sure the cafe was accessible and friendly, a place where people could come not just to eat, but to feel seen and valued. Her vision had come true, and it was even better than she had dreamed. Through this journey, Emma learned that accepting help was not a weakness, but a step toward strength. Richard learned that wealth was most powerful when used to lift others. And Alex learned that kindness could create lasting friendships and change lives. Their story showed that no matter where someone comes from, with kindness, support, and determination, lives can be transformed in the most beautiful ways. Emma's life had been changed completely, not just by money, but by belief, opportunity, and the power of a simple hug. After the grand opening of Emma's cafe, life began to settle into a new rhythm for everyone involved. The small but vibrant cafe quickly became a beloved spot in the neighborhood. It's known for its warm atmosphere, delicious food, and most importantly, the kindness that Emma made the foundation of her business. People came not just to eat, but to connect, to find a friendly face, and to be part of something special. Emma worked hard every day, but the hard work now felt different. It wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about building a future. She believed in the cafe was growing steadily, and with Richard's continued support, Emma was able to expand her vision. She hired more staff from the local community, giving jobs to people who needed them the most, including young adults who had dropped out of school or struggled to find opportunities elsewhere. Richard, too, found new meaning in his life, helping Emma, and watching her flourish made him feel more fulfilled than any business deal ever had. He began to invest not just money, but his time and heart into community projects and causes that mattered. His relationship with Emma and Alex had opened his eyes to a different world, one filled with genuine human connection rather than cold numbers and profit margins. Alex, now a regular at the cafe, was thriving in ways that surprised even Richard. The kindness and acceptance he found at Emma's cafe helped him grow in confidence and happiness. Emma had become more than a family friend. She was a mentor and an inspiration to him. The bond between Emma, Alex, and Richard had become a powerful force, shaping all their lives in meaningful ways. The success of the cafe brought new opportunities and challenges. Emma faced decisions about how to expand her business without losing the warmth and care that made it special. She wanted to open a second location but was cautious about keeping the personal touch intact. Richard helped her navigate these choices, encouraging her to stay true to her values while embracing growth. Emma also became an advocate for children with disabilities and their families. Inspired by Alex's journey, she organized events and support groups at her cafe, turning it into a hub for inclusion and community support. These gatherings help families connect, share experiences, and find resources they might not have known about before. Emma's cafe was no longer just a business, it was a beacon of hope and acceptance. Her story caught the attention of local media and community leaders. People were inspired by how a simple act of kindness, a hug in a cafe, had sparked a transformation that rippled through the community. Emma and Richard were invited to speak at events about the power of compassion and opportunity. Their message was clear: everyone deserves a chance to shine, and sometimes all it takes is one person believing in you. Despite the new attention, Emma stayed humble and focused on her mission, never forgot where she came from or the struggles her family faced. She continued to support her siblings, ensuring they had opportunities for education and growth. Emma's journey was a reminder that success was not just about personal achievement, but lifting others along the way. Richard's life was changed too. He stepped back from some of his corporate duties to focus more on philanthropy and mentoring people like Emma. He realized that wealth could create real change when used wisely and compassionately. His friendship with Emma and Alex taught him lessons about kindness, resilience, and the true meaning of success. Together, Emma, Richard, and Alex built a community that celebrated differences and supported dreams. Their story became an example of how love and opportunity could transform lives, breaking down barriers and building bridges between people from very different worlds. Years later, the cafe grew into a successful small chain, always keeping the values of kindness, inclusion, and community at its heart. Emma pursued further education and became a respected leader in her field, always giving back to the neighborhood that had supported her from the start. Alex continued to grow confident and happy, supported by a network of friends and family who loved him for who he was. Richard found peace in knowing that his son's happiness was intertwined with Emma's success and that, together, they had created something beautiful. Their journey was a powerful reminder that life's greatest changes often begin with small moments like a hug, a kind word, or an unexpected friendship. Emma's life was transformed not just by money, but by belief, love, and the courage to dream. Richard's world was enriched by the people he met and the kindness he shared. And Alex thrived in a world where he was seen and valued. The story of the billionaire dad, the waitress, and the disabled son showed the true power of human connection. It taught that no matter where you start, with kindness, support, and determination, anyone's life can be changed completely.